Fall back on Yanbo, sir, and the Arab Rising becomes one poor unit in the British Army.
What is this to you?
Lawrence, do you know you're a traitor?
No, Colonel. He is a young man, and young men are passionate. But they must say their say. But wiser people must decide.
For years, I have worked to research and present the issues that are important to this community of individuals who consider themselves to be awake, looking for alternative news, or interested in the distillation of some complex topics in popular science, down to a level that can be easily understood. I have found my ground, and focus on that which impassions me the most, but I watch a variety of videos, and make my news short each day so you have time to watch other videos about things like economic strife, political corruption, or geoengineering. I find that I can't do everything at a high enough level worthy of asking for your time, so, like I hope for you, I go seeking that information from the other members of our community. When I do so, however, I think I have a distinct advantage over many of you in that I figured out some key points in researching items within this community. The problems arise because of the process of waking up itself. The mere opening of your mind to possibilities that have not been previously considered, or which have been outright denied by the mainstream, opens you to literally an entire new world of possibilities. Regardless of your view of the scope of this larger community in general, and regardless of your interaction with it, it displays an unwieldy range of topics and disciplines. Black Ops and USAPs, climate change, 9/11, extraterrestrials, HAARP, solar flares, GMOs, comet conspiracies, chemtrails, Nibiru, the NSA, the Illuminati, Alex Jones, tectonic destabilization, mind control, World War III, FEMA, pole shifts, tsunamis, volcanoes. You all know darn well I didn't even come close to getting it all. What happened the first time you tried to dig deeper on one of these topics? When you first woke up? Did you get more than 10 minutes into it before you had 5 more questions and 3 more avenues of study you wanted to follow? If you genuinely put an effort into taking your knowledge into your own hands, then you have met that impossibly high wall where it seems like progressing forward may be too daunting. If you are there now, newly awake, then let me assure you that feeling will pass and you will hit stride in time. At my current stage, I have a long way to go. And to get here, it has taken more than 2 years of dedication, every day. Weekends, holidays, the hospital, and a derecho were the causes of the only missed days of news in that time, and I repeat, I still have a long way to go. I just shared what 90% of you already know because I want to impart on you the significance of these facts. I graduated from Denison, I got a Juris Doctorate, I did professional research for 3 years. And with all things working in my favor, I am still an ignorant 29-year-old child in many ways. This is not easy. When I woke up, and I understand this is also true for almost everyone else who, quote, wakes up, one of my biggest weaknesses was that I had no idea what or who to believe. All of a sudden, a man on YouTube who is by all normal accounts a little unstable or perhaps unhinged suddenly seemed as credible as NASA scientists. Why? Because of a simple truth that appears to connect everyone who claims to be awake, the one thing we all have in common. We recognize that there are great truths hidden from us, often in plain sight. We've not been told the entire truth about a great many things, and we are unsettled and upset by these facts. In light of this, we lose the only logical filter we have ever known, and literally every sensational thing we would have never entertained before suddenly appear not only worth a click, but worth another, and a comment, and perhaps a fear. The vast majority of those things you see within the larger community are not worth a click, And I realize this goes against the concept of open-mindedness. But what if I insisted to you that each of us had little gremlins in our ears that control everything we do, and that the sun is actually a radioactive grapefruit that just flies around the earth for fun? What? You don't have an open mind? Clearly, there is a line in the sand, and when you first wake up, your ability to see that line amidst the conspiracies and dangers you hear about online is essentially nullified. Unfortunately, there are people who take advantage of this. They recycle the same fear-mongering under different channel names every year or two, and they know exactly what they're doing. However, the majority of what I can honestly call bad information online is the product of honest misunderstanding. If I may humbly make a critique of the thought process displayed by the larger community in general, we get so creative in our thinking, and I do mean creative, that we often lose sight of the full set of facts and engage in hypocrisy. Let me give you an example, a personal example that happened to me during my wake-up process, and this one was so easy to see that it likely honed my BS detector earlier than it otherwise would have been. One of the things I heard early on in this community was that the elites, the powers that be, Illuminati, government, whoever, they controlled all media, all information, all publishing, all TV, Hollywood actors and politicians, everything. Well, I find it hard to be too afraid of a group that lets Dan Brown shred them in a bestseller and then lets Tom Hanks do the same thing on the big screen. But I was willing to do some digging. I didn't really get a chance, though. The very next day, those same people who claimed that everything, all the media and information, was under their control, were sending me links to books about HAARP from major publishing houses, TV shows about HAARP on mainstream cable channels, and an account from actor/politician Jesse Ventura telling me plain and simple, here's your enemy on a silver platter, now go scream about it on the internet. Isn't that who you just told me was lying to me? The short version of my 9 months and hundreds of hours of professional diligence on the matter revealed these facts about HAARP. It was operating in secret for decades and was likely a great enemy of the natural world. Then, it was declassified. DARPA funding went to private contractors who published their work for everyone to see, and people on YouTube began using some of those publications on the internet to prove that HAARP was doing something evil. The books, the TV shows, and the mouthpieces came out, and we all went loony for HAARP online. Meanwhile, the new, classified weather modification operations are localized. They span multinational operations, and they need no help from HAARP. Those things are certain. What I am only close to certain about is that the HAARP popularity is an effort to help drive an evasion of focus. Let them slip under the radar, pun intended. We can't focus on the current operators if we don't even know who they are. So now our job gets tougher. The media can't be totally controlled and have HAARP be such an enemy. The media is where we're getting our information about it. In my opinion, the geoengineering proposition, modifying the weather, is of the lowest merit. But focus on HAARP lets the real bad guys get away with it and takes us further from our natural world. Make no mistake, I'm not saying this community is full of it, but we lack proper focus. We take our cues from the same elites we condemn and then skew off into disorderly tangents like bedhead on a gamer on Saturday morning. ETs, weather modification, cosmic rays, and climate change. Just a few of the stuff that merits a lot of focus in our community. But then we get people who make us all look like we deserve to be on a domestic terror watch list every time they open their mouths. Sorry, Mr. Alex Jones, but you will serve as the object of today's example. It's going to be 1776 if you try to take our guns! Forgive me, that was my AJ impression, paraphrased from his CNN appearance with Piers Morgan. He also essentially told him to get the funk out of the country. He sounded completely insane, and in many ways, whether you like it or not, he represented you when he made a fool of himself on national TV. Let's move past the fact that a grown man threw a tantrum on air and made us all look like dangerous, crazy individuals, and the fact that none of his predictions or fears have proved fruitful in his decade-plus of publication. Let's instead examine his widely popular push of the fear that government is coming to take our guns. How exactly would this work? Let me tell you, I live in a fairly calm area on the border of rural and suburban Columbus, Ohio. There's not a badass around me for miles. And even here, just knowing my neighbors a little bit, the officials would get house number 1, but bullets would fly from house number 2 before they rang the doorbell. That's my neighborhood. Good luck in Texas or in Crenshaw. Who's going to do this? The cops? In their own community? I don't think so. The army? Even if you convince them, you need more people. You need the Chinese army to come help you hit every house at the same time, and even then the probable casualties would preclude the operation from possibility. That's just 3 simple reasons why a huge chunk of our own community, and therefore all of us in the eyes of the mainstream, appears to lack the ability to think logically. The point is that our community has terrific information coming out every day, and yet it still seems like nobody cares, like everyone thinks we're crazy. Well, we make ourselves a pretty easy target. The initiation, the entry fee into this community, the forfeit of every ability you currently have to discern the truth, and we're applying this to YouTube videos and things you read on alternative news sites. It's a scary combination. There are 2 levels of waking up. The first where you open your mind to the notion that they've sprayed above our heads. Life exists outside the earth. The people we put in power are required to become the worst type of people among us, often just to get into that position in the first place. The second awakening comes when you realize that there must be a limit to open-mindedness, to that which we allow to steal our time and focus and support. Think of it this way. Murder laws are technically a limit on freedom. We don't like to think of limits on freedom as good things, but if you can see why murder is outlawed, and why you probably shouldn't click a video called "The Sun is a Radioactive Grapefruit Flying Around the Earth," then believe me when I tell you out of the best of my experience that the majority of that which scares you online is false. The majority of those who scare you on YouTube know full well they are full of crap. That line in the sand is one of the most difficult things to learn how to spot in this community. Now, the worst part about this fact is that it manifests itself as a weekly cry wolf of sorts for our community in general. There are real, long-term concerns, none of which are on the precipice of resolution. Now, with that in mind, reconsider how we think about these stories every other day about some dangerous rock in space or some cover-up or something the Russians said. A point of note, we've seen hundreds of fireballs as meteors have entered Earth's atmosphere. None have ever been on the official near-Earth object list. None. And there are often many meteors added after they pass by our planet. There's always some major event about to happen, or it's being covered up, and it seems that we'll fall ever further into the pit of internet psychos who lack any credibility when this world-breaking news every other day proves to be nonsense. When I say eyes open, I mean that you should dig beyond what someone tells you. And when I say no fear, I mean that you can leave a lot of that baggage at the door when rolling through these topics online. I've watched some people live in constant fear since 2011. It's astounding. Let me tell you this. If I thought we were in imminent danger of the world falling into such disarray in a coming year or two, I would not be selling most of what I own and reducing my supplies by 95% to go around the country in an RV while taping a scientific documentary and visiting important people and scientists along the way. If things go down while we're on the road, my family will have major challenges. In truth, I think indeed that Earth is in for a rough future, but it will not come in a day. And it will be a slow, steady decline that we cannot stop or avoid, in which we will just helplessly watch unfold. This will take years, if not decades, to unfold, but our path begins now. If you are hearing this and you identify with my experience in waking up or any of those struggles, you are already ahead of the game. We may be headed on a nationwide tour soon, but in a sense we're not going anywhere, and neither is the Earth, for now. Waking up is one of the most difficult things we can do in this world. In order to find your way, you will need to wake up again. If someone doesn't cite their sources, just don't trust them. If someone claims to have the big answers, just don't trust them. I may be a professional researcher, but I'm not special, any smarter than you, or have access to any secret information. So in my daily news, you can find everything I say and show verified by link in the About tab below the video. I do this because you'd be crazy just to take my word for things. Do your homework and apply this logic to everyone. Before you put yourself behind a concept or even a question to the larger community, consider that checking a source or a link and a simple Google search will probably be faster than getting an answer or comment in response, and you'll be relying on yourself to judge the facts. Some closing notes. The medicine and technology experienced by even the poorest among us is better than that which the pharaohs enjoyed or even King Solomon. There's a confusing power structure to this world, yes, but in many ways you must recognize the positives in addition to the negatives of our current situation. I hate anything involving geoengineering, and I will continue to watch other presenters in our community report on it. Remember why I make the news so short every day. There are probably ETs even here at Earth, but every single satellite photo claiming to see alien ships near the sun is complete nonsense. Never get scared or excited about one frame on Soho or stereo either. Dust and solar wind and cosmic rays do some crazy things. They edit those satellite photos enough that if you caught it on there, it's not worth worrying about. Planet X or whatever major star or object they're claiming is coming into our solar system is absolutely not. If anything, maybe it's stuck in the Kuiper Belt, and if you've not seen the video called Symbols of an Alien Sky, it's my favorite Nibiru explanation. Whoever is pulling the strings, the powers that be, it's not our priests or our politicians. Their ineptitudes are evident enough, and they may be puppets, as imprisoned themselves as the rest of us are by the fiat money system. And for hundreds of years, things have gradually gotten better for humans. I find both sides of the climate argument to care more about politics than the science, and a better chance for a mini ice age soon than devastating global warming. Cosmic ray variation during a coming grand solar minimum could change the way uranium behaves, igniting a global disaster, and explaining what might have happened to some previous grand civilizations. There is much more, and I'll try to hit as many topics as possible in more detail going forward. Just know for now, this community comes at a price, but it's a price that can be refunded through diligence and hard work and the application of simple reasoning skills. Just because a terrible realization about the world has changed your way of thinking forever does not mean you should ignore everything you've learned about making judgments about people and checking the facts to see if someone is full of crap. If you have a question on a topic you think I won't discuss, remember that I try to keep my videos focused and short so you and I both have time to check out other topics. But ask the folks from the conference in March. You can just walk up and ask me anything. And while you could do that online, I'd much rather discuss things with you in person. We'll probably have the chance this next year as we cross the country. Double check everyone, triple check every fact, and be safe everyone.